Hello, friends, and welcome to the latest episode of Social Harmony. Today, I'm joined by Veronica Welch, who's the host of Stop Telling Me to Relax, the podcast for single mums who don't have time to chill. And yeah, I've got to say, talking with Veronica is very, very evident that she has a lot going on and she is an inspiration. I've got to say it. She's so very driven, such a goal getter, and she's had so much go on in her life. And I suppose, like many of us, when you're young, you have an idea of what you think life's going to look like, and that roadmap of life just takes you in different directions, turns and tosses you about and what have you. And this is definitely true for Veronica. I mean, she talks about how, she was very much like the Cosbys in her household, as she puts it. She went to college and she was very sort of shy, very introverted and what have you. And then I suppose, put herself out there in different ways. She talks about the sad passing of her father, who was a big part of her life, about falling pregnant at a young age to a guy who really needed to do a bit of growing up himself, and how life has changed for her since then and what it now looks like. And so yeah, I hope you take a lot from the episode. Not least the fact that, yeah, life isn't always as we hope it would be, but yeah, we can still make positives out of it. And that's what I took from talking to Veronica. Also, how much we have in common. I mean, we're very, very different people, very different backgrounds, and came up very, very different as well. But we share a lot of the same goals, a lot of the same values, the same aspirations. So, in the spirit of, I suppose, bringing people together, I wanted to focus on, yeah, it's that which connects us rather than that divides us. So, with that in mind, please, I hope you enjoy the episode. Thanks for listening. Kia ora whānau, and welcome to episode 73 of Social Harmony. Today I'm joined by Veronica T. Welch. She is a mother. She is the host of the fantastic podcast, Stop Telling Me to Relax. So, because you can do a better job of it than I can, Veronica, please, can you introduce yourself to my listeners? Who are you?
Yeah, thank you so much, Lee. Such a pleasure to be here. Hi, everybody. My name is
Pleasure.
Veronica Welch. I am, like Lee said, the host of a podcast. It's called Stop Telling Me to Relax. The tagline is for single moms who don't have time to chill. I live in California, in America. Born and raised in California, up near San Francisco, and now I live further down south, like in the valley, the Central Valley of the state, a few hours from Los Angeles. And I'm very, very happy to be here. Like Lee said, I am a single mother. I have a 15-year-old son, mother of one. I've been a single parent since I have been a parent from the very beginning, which is a long story I'm sure we'll go into. Yeah, I decided to start my podcast and kind of put my experience and what I know is the experience of so many other single mothers out there, because I felt like there was
Fantastic.
just not that platform
Yeah,
for it. So,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I've got to say, like, I've listened to your episodes as well, and I think, well, as a parent in general, so much of it's so relatable because I think that's the thing, we have, before your kids come along, you have an idea what it's like to be a parent, and then life happens,
yeah,
and so I think creating a space, especially for a single parent, just to, I don't know, just to hear other stories, to blow off a bit of steam, just to think, yeah, she gets what I'm talking about. I think,
yes.
yeah, I think it's massive. And so, well, I'll tell you what, if I can ask you, can you go back to the start? I mean, what was life like for Veronica growing up? Where did you come from?
Yeah, so like I said, I grew up in California, still live here. I grew up up in the San Francisco Bay Area, right outside
Mhm.
of the city. We call it the city San Francisco. About 25 minutes right outside of the city. Just kind of normal suburban, life.
Mhm.
Grew up in like a two-parent household with my mother and my
Mhm.
father. They were married. I'm the youngest of
Mhm.
two. I have an older sister who's about 3.5 years older than me.
Mhm.
And growing up, I was a very, very, very shy child. I
Mhm.
had friends, but I just wasn't like that super extrovert,
Yeah.
um, like wanting to be center of attention type of child. My sister
Mhm.
was more like that. For me, I was much more reserved. I
Yeah.
didn't really want to go anywhere and do anything or participate in anything. Not because I was like depressed or anything, but it's
Mm.
that's still just not my personality. I'm just very introverted. Um,
Yeah.
my favorite thing to do growing up was to sit in my room and read books and listen to
Mhm.
CDs and just
Yeah.
kind of be with myself, and always been very just introspective and just kind of very content just
Mhm.
being by myself.
Yeah.
And but like I said, I had friends, but I just wasn't that like social party
Yeah.
person. Um,
Mm.
and growing up, we had everything. I mean, both my parents worked and we didn't need for anything. We're just kind of a normal middle class like family. I always
Mm.
say we were like the Huxtables. I don't know if you know what the Cosby Show
Yeah.
is.
I
Yeah,
remember the
okay.
Cosby Show.
I don't
Yeah.
know if that's in. I'm sure it's popular internationally,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we know everything Bill Cosby has gotten into. But prior
Mm.
to that, um,
Yeah.
they were
It was
just
sort of
kind of.
poster child for a great family in the 80s. I
Yes,
used to love
yeah.
that show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 working professional parents, and the kids are great, but they were just a normal family.
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of what we would get compared to.
Mm.
Um, so growing up, it was fine. I was just very introverted and just to myself, very, very, very sensitive. I still am. Like my feelings get
Mhm.
hurt very easily. Um,
Mm.
and and now as an adult I realize that I have the personality. It's called a highly sensitive person, HSP, which I've done a lot of
Mhm.
looking into that. And we react to things not react to things just not in a way that's like I don't know if you've studied any of the cluster B personality types, but there's like borderline, which is a very sensitive person
Mm.
as well, and they're just like they kind of lash out with their emotions. But a highly
Yeah.
sensitive person, we just more we're emotional, but it's just more introverted. It's more
Mm.
it makes us kind of be more of a recluse, I guess. I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm saying that correctly, but
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm definitely just very sensitive and uh just kind of emotional and introverted, and
Mm.
I am like loyal to the core. So like
Mm.
if I'm loyal to you, I'm loyal to you, and I expect that back from the other person, and not everybody is necessarily really like that.
Mm.
So um, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of
Yeah.
just my personality. That's still my personality today. I think being an adult, I've come out of my shell a
Mm.
little bit more. When I was 18, I moved from the Bay Area to where I live now in the Central Valley to attend college. So I went to
Mhm.
California State University, Fresno, or Fresno State, the
Mhm.
Bulldogs. Um, and that's when I started to come out of my shell. Um,
Okay.
you're just away from your home environment. You're in a brand new environment. You don't know anybody.
Mm.
You get placed living with roommates in dorms, and you just make friends. And that's when I started to date. That's when I started to just really kind of come out of my shell a lot more.
Yeah.
Um, and it's been a wild ride from there to now. So
Yeah. No, it's definitely, I mean, well, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, and I love what you said about the personality clusters and such like, because I feel nowadays there's too much of a rush to pathologize,
there is,
or
yeah.
to, I suppose, trauma label, if you want. Do you know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Yes, I
Insofar as, like
agree.
you've said, then you're very sensitive, you're very emotionally tuned in, and quite, like you said, quite introverted and what have you. Whereas yeah, too many people I feel are quick to point a finger as though it's trauma born or something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas this is just this is just how it is. Because
Yeah,
I
this
was,
is just how I am. This is just like
yeah,
I can't something that I really struggled with in like my 20s and like early 30s was like I always wanted to be I thought like my life would be easier if I was somebody else. Like
yeah,
I can't help but naturally be who I am and feel the way that I feel about things or get my feelings hurt or just navigate the world the way that I am. I can't help it. That's
mm,
just how I am. And I would
yeah,
see other people um and they just handle things so differently. Like somebody would hurt
mm,
them or do something that's just kind of shady or whatever, and they would just like let it roll off their backs and like,
yeah,
'cause they just kind of had a more carefree mindset. And I
mm,
was always like, I want to be like that. Like I feel like something's wrong with me because I'm not like that.
mm,
Because I like
yeah,
methodically think things through and
mm,
make like if I want to do something, plan it out in my head very thoroughly. Anything, even if it's like going to the grocery store, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go down
yeah,
this aisle, then this aisle.
yeah,
Um, I don't know. It's just that's just how I am. I've learned in therapy like not to let myself overthink
mm,
or not to let the overthinking really send me into a spiral.
mm,
But yeah, that's just how I am, and I'm
yeah,
learning now as an adult. I just turned 40 to like own it. Like this is who I am, and there are a lot of strengths in who I
mm,
am, and to own it as opposed to being
yeah.
ashamed of it or wishing I was somebody else. So
Yeah, no, I can absolutely relate. I mean, like when I was a kid, similar sort of thing. I enjoyed my own company. I would read a lot, and I wanted to be the easy mixer, the one that just people like being around. But I don't know. I was a bit awkward. So I
yeah,
tried to be a bit more gregarious and a bit more outgoing, and
yeah,
ended up basically just acting like a bit of a dick. You
yeah.
know, not
I
me,
I can relate.
just yeah,
Yeah, I can relate to that too. Like, wanting to like be a different person and seeing how other people act, so I'm gonna act like that. But one, I would like get myself in trouble, not like trouble, but just like,
hmm,
um, things would happen. Just things would happen that it just
hmm,
didn't align with me. Like, I'm like, this is not who I am. Like
hmm,
in college, that's when people start drinking, partying, doing all that, having sex, and just acting
yeah,
crazy, and I would say that I like dabbled in that, but nothing too crazy. But
hmm,
even just dabbling in it a little bit, it's just not me. Like it just never
hmm.
felt right.
Yeah. I think for me,
Never.
I
So,
wanted to want to like it, if that makes sense. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah. Me too.
yeah, I don't know, like, because again, like you're saying about the overthinking, that I was so very perfectionist and so overthinking, and like if I had some upcoming conversation or whatever it were, I was due to meet somebody, I'd be in the shower rattling the conversation through my head. How's this going to go? How's this going to pan out? And I'd make sure I had every answer rehearsed
Yeah.
that I thought I'd need. Chances are the conversation would go totally at odds with how I'd planned it out in my head. But yeah, I think I don't know, you might call it an anxiety disorder nowadays. I think I was just very nervous and I just wanted to get it right. I
Yeah.
just, wanted to yeah, wanted to be that person. So
Yeah.
I genuinely do love, like you're saying then, that's how, yeah. And it's taken a long while to, I suppose, just to accept it and be okay with it all. And
Yeah.
now, I'm better for it. Like I say, I don't know. I probably still do a bit of the overthinking now and again, but now I use a thing called, it's like putting the facts on trial.
Mhm.
So it's, what are you thinking or what's actually happening? What do you know as fact, and what are
Right.
you guessing is 7 or 8 steps down the road?
Right.
And
Yeah.
I don't know. I suppose we all have our little thing that works for us, eh?
Yeah. I'm
But
guessing.
anyway, let's
I
go.
was gonna say, I'm guessing you've been to. I'm guessing some sort of therapy because that's what I learned in my with my therapist as well. Like
Hmm,
focus on what is fact, not necessarily
yeah.
your feelings, not necessarily what you think is going to happen or you think that
Hmm,
person's thinking. What is fact? And look at the
hmm,
facts as opposed to like letting your mind wander,
hmm,
into all these different scenarios and I just now and kind of back to what we were saying a few seconds ago. Now
hmm,
I'm getting to the point where I'm like so comfortable in my skin. I'm like if somebody
hmm,
doesn't like me or thinks I'm weird or just whatever. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, I'm perfectly
mm,
content and proud of who I am
mm,
and my life, and just so I don't really care if I'm not fitting in, or
mm.
um I don't excuse me, I don't want to be somebody else. Like
Yeah.
I'm getting to the point where I'm just so solid within myself, so
Mm.
it feels good.
Yeah. No, I do. I love that. And I love hearing you say that. So when somebody, and I'll say, yeah, I'm guilty of doing the therapy thing as well. There's a lot of it learned in like work and what I do for a job. But yeah, I think going to therapy and what have you helped me with a lot of those kind of things because it's
Mhm.
good to have somebody else to bounce it off. You
Yeah.
know, I I find I generally have to vocalize. I'll come out with this big word salad of nonsense, of things that I don't necessarily
Mm.
think or believe.
Yeah.
But once I've heard it out loud, then I can start to, I suppose, zone in on what it is I do actually think or hear it and think, nah, that's ridiculous, man. Come on.
Yeah. I think it's true. Like when thoughts are in your head, it's like
Yeah.
they make more sense. But when you say it out loud, especially if you say it to another person, like a therapist who
Hmm.
isn't can look at something, um I guess it was to look at it objectively, I guess. Like they
Hmm.
don't have any kind of emotional like attachment to the situation, like
Hmm.
if you're talking to a relative or a spouse or a boyfriend or whatever, a family member, like they can just really look at it very very kind of
Hmm.
broadly, as opposed, and not have any kind of emotional ties, as opposed to like somebody, if you're talking to a friend or a
Yeah.
family member about it. But yeah,
Yeah.
saying it out loud like kind of
Hmm.
gets it out, and you hear it and you're like,
Hmm.
that kind of, it
Well,
sounds really silly, or that's not
yeah.
reasonable, or whatever. That's not
Yeah.
realistic.
It is. Well, that's what I did in my younger years, when you're a teenager and what have you, but it'd be things like that that'd get me,
Hmm.
wow, man, are you a bit weird? What the fuck are you saying there? These
Yeah.
kind of things, because
Yeah.
at that age, everyone's trying to fit in and find their way and I suppose just, figure things out.
Yeah.
And much like yourself, I equate loyalty with love. I'd like to think I am a very loyal person. So, and again, kids do this, but I remember at the time thinking, I don't trust you now anymore. Like you said, somebody acts shady,
Hmm.
somebody, you know, I don't know, because kids don't want to be the one that's in the firing line, do they? So you
Right.
say something stupid, so then everyone will gang up on that kid,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
you get left alone then. And that was a big thing for me. But anyway, I digress. So we got up to you've gone to college, like you said, you're sort of forced out of your comfort zone. You got to, I suppose, you got to sink or swim. Really, you make friends, you get yourself out there. How how did you make the switch, and what did that feel like?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think just going to just being in the environment forced
Hmm.
me to be more social. Um,
Yeah.
like I said, I grew up with one other sibling who, she always had a lot going on, like extracurriculars and stuff, and so
Hmm.
she's always doing her thing, and I doing my thing, and I was never around a lot of people, and so when you're like living in like dormitories, you're living with a bunch of roommates, and then there's you know all these rooms on one floor, and you're just constantly
Yeah.
around people, and so that kind of really pushed me out of my comfort zone to kind of be a lot more social. Um, and how did it feel? It was, to be honest with you, it was a little bit of a culture shock.
Hmm.
Going to college and meeting people from all over. I mean, mainly people that, other people my age who also lived in California, but still just different
Hmm.
parts of the state, and they were just into different things, and they were raised very differently than I
Yeah.
was. Growing up near San Francisco, it's very liberal minded. Like,
Hmm.
just people are very open minded, and accepting of other people in the way that they
Yeah.
are. I always say, like, everybody's parents were like reformed hippies where I grew up. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know if you've heard of like a Berkeley, California, or like a
Yes.
Hayton Ashbury in San
Yeah.
Francisco in the
Yeah.
'60s. That's where like all the hippies would hang out
mm,
and they would smoke weed and they were like march and protest for peace and freedom.
mm,
That and then like so all of my friends' parents were kind of
mm,
like had that mindset. They weren't living that
mm,
life anymore because they got married and they had kids,
mm.
so they couldn't necessarily live like that, but that was still their mindset.
Yeah,
So it was just
yeah,
a very like free loving, I don't know, kind of environment that I grew
yeah,
up in.
yeah.
And then coming here, meeting people who weren't raised like that. Maybe they were raised in a more conservative area of the state or a more conservative household, or they just lived differently. It was
Mm,
very shocking. It was a culture shock, and then also seeing a lot of people who like could not wait to get away from their parents. Like
mm,
I'm never gonna forget that
mm,
first night that I was um in got dropped off at like college, right?
mm,
Everybody like in our dormitory went out and like partied. Like right across the street from where our dorms were, there were a bunch of fraternities and people would go over and party. And
mhm.
I stayed home. I stayed like in my dorm. Like I didn't really have any
Yeah.
interest in going anywhere. But
Mm,
it was maybe like 12:30 at night, and I was gonna walk out of my dorm to go to the restroom because they're like communal
mm,
restrooms, on our floor.
yeah.
And I walk out, and there's a girl laying there having a seizure from alcohol consumption.
Yikes.
Like she partied so hard that night. This was the first night that we were
Yeah.
like away at college. Um, some people just really like they had all this freedom and they just let loose, and it was so
Mm.
shocking to me because I'm like crying every day like I miss my parents, and some people were so happy
Oh.
to be away from their parents. It was so shocking. So yeah, it was just a bit of a culture shock, but I think I
Yeah.
I adjusted fairly well. I never got myself in
Mm,
in too much trouble. Um and I went to school and did what I needed to do as far as school and getting the grades and stuff.
mhm,
But it was definitely like an eye opener just to be around different types of people.
mm.
I feel like when
Yeah.
you're growing up, like your frame of reference is like your community that you grew up
Yeah.
in. Like you think
Yeah.
everybody lives the way that you do, and then when you grow
Yeah.
up and you meet people that don't, it's very shocking. It's
Mm,
very like whoa, like it's
yeah.
fine. It was fine, but it's just shocking. But
Yeah.
I enjoyed it for the most part. I have friends from that period of my life in college that I will know for the rest of my life that are such
Mm,
good friends and lots of good memories. But it was
mm,
definitely kind of like a culture shock for sure.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I've got to say, I'm just as you're talking, then a little story of my own. I remember being thrown by this because I actually visited San Francisco when I was about 15 for the
Uh
first
huh.
time, and I was really blown away. Um, Pier 39, all
Uh
that
huh.
kind of thing.
Hmm.
The thing that stuck in my head was how very overtly gay so many
Yeah.
people were.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's
very
one,
it's very free. Everybody is like
mm, yeah,
very like in San Francisco there's a lot of large
mm,
gay or LGBTQ population, especially
mm,
in a district. There's it's called the Castro. It's a
mhm,
heavily gay, a lot of gay men live in the Castro. And
mm,
yeah, it's people are just it's just very free. It's just a very like
yeah,
no, and nobody that's not like that like discriminates or hates on them. It's
yeah,
just like that's just people are very accepting.
yeah.
um
These were the first things
Growing
that
up,
stuck in my mind. Yeah, it
yeah.
was because, like, again, and I don't want to malign the UK, but it wasn't as out. And this is like what 1989, 1990. So the
Mhm.
culture was very different.
Right.
And I remember going again as some like skinny little 15-year-old kid,
Mhm.
and just thinking how great these guys were. They could probably sense how uptight I was and what have
Yeah.
you. This was, he's not used to this, but they were giving me a bit of teasing and having a laugh. And I thought, you know what a good place. It's a bit cold, but I absolutely love it
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
no, it is very cold in San Francisco. Me and my family would always joke, especially in the summertime. You can always tell who the
Mm,
tourists were because they thought, "Oh, I'm coming to San Francisco,
yeah,
California, it's gonna be warm," and they'd be, like, in shorts and, like, a tank top, and you still kinda need a sweater
guilty.
even in the
Yeah,
summertime. Yeah. you
Yeah.
can always tell the tourists, or they're just kind of
Yeah.
looking around like they're just kind of shocked about what they're
Yeah.
seeing. Not that it's bad, but it's just different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can remember growing up. We would go to the gay pride parade in San Francisco
Mhm.
every year. It's like one of the bigger pride parades, at
Mm.
least in America. I think the New York City has a fairly large one, and Los Angeles too. But there's a large, there's a big one in
Mm.
San Francisco, and we would go every single year. And I always thought like, well, everybody's family like goes to the gay pride,
Yeah.
like it's just something that we would do.
Yeah.
It's really at nighttime. It gets a little, kind of not. I don't want to say weird, but it gets a little,
Yeah.
adult at night.
Yeah.
But during the day, it's really a family friendly parade. And I remember coming to college and meeting other people, and they would be like disgusted that I would go to the Pride Parade every year. I'm
Mm.
like, that's what everybody does. Like everybody's family
Yeah.
goes to Pride and celebrates,
Mm.
the relatives and family members that they know that are LGBTQ, and it just is.
Mm.
It was just very. Looking back now as an adult, it was a very um, interesting upbringing to grow
Yeah.
up somewhere like that. There's a lot of culture, diversity, lots of arts, music, theater. Like it was great to grow up
Mm.
in that area. So
Yeah. No, I love that. So then, you just started there. There's a lot of differing viewpoints, and I'm guessing a few, got a bit too heavy with the alcohol because it's the first time away from home. And so, how how did the rest of your college time look? You've started off like you said, you missed your family, and it was very very new to you. What was it? Did you do 4 years?
I actually finished in five. It took me
Hmm.
5 years to get my bachelor's.
Mm.
Um, I really wasn't. Like I said, I dabbled, but it wasn't a huge
Mm.
partier. But in the middle of my fourth year is when things really, really shifted. So,
Okay.
going back to like when I started high school, my dad started to get sick. He had like it's a chronic lung disorder. It was called COPD, and he
Hmm.
he got diagnosed with that and started to having lots of just medical issues. And
Mm.
as it progressively like got worse throughout my time in
Mm.
high school, and then I came to college. He was still living up in the Bay Area, but I was here in the Valley going to college. And I wasn't I wasn't around. I didn't know like that he was how sick he was getting. He was kind of that person that was like, well, I'm sick, but I'm still gonna work. I'm still gonna do everything I have to do. Like
Mm.
he never made it seem like he was as sick as he was.
Yeah.
Um, but in my senior, no, in my fourth year, um, my first senior year, I guess I had two. He ended up passing away
Oh,
unexpectedly.
wow.
I can remember it so well. So, it was April, and I was in my apartment. I was laying in my bed, and he had had a couple of very short hospitalizations, like a few months prior, like around Christmas time.
Mm.
Um, and again, we didn't like he never expressed to us like how sick that he was, because it still seemed like he was doing everything he was supposed to be doing, going to work and just functioning normally.
Mm.
Um, and so I was laying in bed, and my mom calls me, and she goes, "You need to come here today." And she's like, "Your dad's in the hospital." Now, just to briefly say, my senior year of high school, my parents had separated. They never divorced,
Mm.
but they had ended up separating my senior
Okay.
year of high school, and it was a very kind of a traumatic experience for me. Their
Mm.
separation, all that I had known my whole life was them being together, and then they had this major fight, and then they ended up separating, and my mom
Mm.
ended up being the one to leave the house and get her own apartment, and it was kind of traumatic, but they were
Mm.
still friendly and whatnot.
Yeah.
They were still legally married. So,
Mm.
anyways, my mom called me and said, "You need to come here today." She didn't want to tell me like anything was serious. I don't think she wanted to scare me, but she's like, "Your dad's in
Hmm.
the hospital. You need to come." So I drove, the 3.5 hours up to the Bay Area. Drove straight to the hospital. I walked into the hospital, my dad's hospital room, and I just start bawling, crying because
Hmm.
he looked awful. He was in ICU. He had all these tubes and cords everywhere. Um, and my dad was a very like kept man. Like he always just presented
Yeah.
himself very, very well. Clothes, wardrobe, like hair, like always cut and just he always
Hmm.
looked very nice. And his hair looked bad. Like he looked bad. He had a beard, which he never really had a beard. Like, um, it was a bad. I just knew it was a bad situation. I just start
Yeah.
bawling, crying
Yeah.
because it's like one of those things where like like I knew
Yeah.
like this is not good
Yeah.
and this is probably going to be the end. So we stayed at the hospital with him all
Yeah.
day. And then we went to my mom's house. And in the middle of the night that night, me and my sister slept in the living room and watched movies. And we planned on going back to the hospital the next morning. Then in the middle of the night, this was back in 2009, she still had like a house phone.
Hmm.
My mom's like house phone rang. And I
Hmm.
knew instantly that it was a hospital. Like, who else is calling at like 2 in the morning? It's
Yeah.
something bad. So they called to tell us that he had passed away. I guess he had a heart attack and his body like went into
Hmm.
shock and his body was already in a weak state because of the COPD and then he caught pneumonia and the heart attack on top of that. He didn't make it through that heart
Hmm.
attack. Um and it was just shocking. It was just I don't know. I still have a hard time like even just grasping
Hmm.
that he's not here and that my father's
Yeah.
dead. Like I just don't even believe it. Like it's just a strange thing. I don't know,
Hmm.
yeah, it's just awful. I don't know.
Hmm.
And especially to lose somebody very unexpectedly like that, I guess. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't I mean, he had an illness, but and we knew he was sick, but it wasn't something that we thought he was gonna like die from. Like
Hmm.
within a couple if somebody gets cancer,
Yeah. Yeah.
they slowly
Yeah.
start to deteriorate. The doctor's like, okay, you're probably going to die in 6 months, and you have
Hmm.
time to like prep and prepare. There's really
Hmm.
like none of that because he was living with this disease, but then he just got sick and died, like in a
Hmm.
matter of like a week, like it just got gone.
Hmm.
Um, so it was very hard. But after about a week, we did the funeral, we did all that stuff, and then I came back here to Fresno to finish out um that year of school that was ending. It was May
Yeah.
at that point, and so I finished the school year. And looking back now, I was like a walking zombie that
Hmm.
last like piece of that school year after he had passed, and I came back to school. I just was like,
Yeah.
I don't even know. Just going through the motions, like
Hmm.
just trying to. I knew how important it was to my dad that I graduated high school and that I finished. So it's like I'm going to finish this year. I got one more year to go, and I'm just going to do it. And so, particularly that that month or so after he passed, and I came back to school, like I just was just like a zombie, just like walking
Hmm.
through.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a hard time. It was a hard time
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah. No. I want to say I can imagine, but I can't really. It's obvious. We've all got our own situations and our own way
Hmm.
of dealing with it. Yeah, I suppose if I can imagine anything, it would be how very, very hard it would be to just go back to the status quo after something like that so
Yeah.
quickly, just, slot back into your life after something
Hmm.
so devastating's happened.
Yeah, and looking back, and I don't blame any of my friends for this necessarily. I think it was just the age that we were.
Hmm.
I was like 21, 22.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know, like a lot of my friends like never asked me about how I was doing or how I
Hmm.
was feeling or if I needed any support. I had a couple of friends do that, but like
Hmm.
no like I just came back to college and just it's just business as usual. Nobody like checked on me or asked how I was doing. I
mm,
actually had, and this is so bad, but I was dating somebody at the time. And then like a couple weeks after he had passed, I came back to school. He broke up with me and he started dating one of like a friend of a friend that I knew. I didn't know this girl that well, but like he started dating
mm,
her and that was horrible and awful to
yeah,
have have that, happen
mm,
right after that. And then I also had another falling out with a friend shortly after that too. Um over like a concert or something very silly, but
mm,
uh yeah, just I don't know, like none of my looking back now, none like they just I didn't have a lot of support from friends, and I think like I said, I think it's because of the age that we were at the time. Like
mm,
I don't know if people were like mature enough to like have those kinds of
yeah,
conversations with me at 20, 21, 22.
yeah,
Um, and nobody had really
yeah,
experienced it too.
mm,
I had one friend, my friend Andrew, who I'm still friends with, whose dad had passed away when he was like 10. So he was one of the only people who ever spoke to me about it or asked me about it because he knew what it was like.
yeah,
Um, but nobody talked to me about it. Like looking back
mm,
now, that made it very a lot harder.
yeah.
Not having any like support from my friends. Like you know, they didn't turn their back on me, but they just didn't know what to
No,
say or they just didn't really talk about it. It's just like business as usual. Um
yeah. No, I suppose that's it. Like you said, the age and stage, very immature. I mean,
mhm.
I know myself at that age, I'd probably be more like, oh, come on, let's go and get drinks.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
that's what it
something
was.
like that. Let's just that diversionary tactic or
Mm,
whatever it was, because I think I would be too scared to say, "How are you?" knowing that
yeah,
not good is going to be the
yeah,
answer, and I wasn't equipped to deal with it.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I can absolutely imagine that. I'm not making any excuses for anyone, by the way. I'm
No,
just
yeah.
sort of,
No,
yeah,
you're
I can
correct. You're totally
imagine.
correct. And I've had people, since then. This was 2007, so this was like years ago.
Mm,
But I've had like the guy I was dating at that time. He's since apologized to me and said like I'm very sorry that I
mm,
did that to you during that time. And I had friends too, just kind of. I've had friends come to me and say like I can't like they've had a parent die, recently, and they're
mm,
like I can't. And then they think about like my experience, and they're like I cannot believe like we didn't really ever ask you how you were doing or
yeah,
how you felt or really support you in a very like direct way. They just
mm,
they didn't. So they've kind of came to me and acknowledged it and kind of
yeah,
apologized. But it was a weird time. I just didn't, you know, I just didn't.
mm,
I don't know. I just it started for me honestly with you know that time for me started this pattern of when something bad or sad or traumatic happens, I just go into like I said, that phase of just like going through the motions, just
yeah,
doing what I need to do to get done, doing what
yeah,
needs to get done, and not even really like feeling it. Like
mm,
some people like they'll drink to get the
mm,
feelings, not feel the
yeah,
feelings, not have to deal with it. For me, it's like, well, what like you know, just get back to it. I gotta go to school.
yeah,
I gotta work. I gotta blah 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 blah. And I
yeah,
don't really like deal with it till it like creeps up on
mm,
you like sick. A few years
yeah.
later, which I've
And I
had other
suppose
things
that,
happen.
in a way, it's easier to do somehow. I know that sounds thing, but if you've got something you can focus on,
Hmm.
right, I need to do this, I need to do this. I suppose that's something at least you have a modicum of control over, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know,
I
just
agree. Hmm.
a focus, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, because
Wow.
it's so, especially with death, like you don't have
Mm,
any control. Like that person's not coming back. You can't
mm,
say or do anything to have them come back.
yeah.
And when it's like a parent, it's just like you know
Mm, very
there's so many
final.
things that I know,
Mm,
like, like I think the way that I thought about it then was like, well, my dad wouldn't want me to stop going to school. My dad wouldn't. He really wanted me to graduate college and do this and do
yeah,
that. So like, I'm just gonna keep going to make sure that I do it because to make him proud or whatever.
yeah,
Make sure I'm still
yeah,
doing the things that he wanted me to do. And I just like I go into like it's a part of flight or fight really. Like it's just like
yeah,
I'm just like. not even just doing what I got to do. I'm not even really like processing anything.
mm,
Um, so yeah, that's kind of how that happened. And a year after that, in 2008, because I had that fifth year, so I graduated and got my bachelor's. And so I did finish college. So that
mm.
worked. That worked out. Yeah,
Okay.
got through
Okay.
that.
And so then moving on from college, then what happened next? What were the next few
Well,
years like?
that's when it got really interesting.
Mm,
So my plan when I went to college was to become a teacher. I wanted to teach
mm,
elementary school, particularly the primary grades, so like kindergarten through
mhm,
second. Um, and I told myself when I graduated, okay, I'm gonna give myself 1 year after I graduate just to chill, like because I had,
mm,
my father had passed away, lost a parent, and I was really just trying to um just kind of get my footing again, and like just
mm,
I just didn't want to have any kind of major responsibilities like a college or get some sort of full-time job, so I'll just give
yeah.
myself a year. So I stayed here in the valley in Fresno, the Fresno area,
Mhm,
and I was waitressing at the time, serving tables, um having a lot of fun with a bunch of friends that I knew that I had friends, and just socializing, just being a 23-year-old, just
yeah.
kind of living a life. Um, and throughout in that year, let's see, yeah, in that year, I met my son's dad,
Mm,
and we started dating. Let's see, we started dating. We met in April of 2009.
mm,
Started dating in June, and then I was pregnant with my son at the end of July. So it was very,
mm,
very, very fast. It really wasn't anything serious. Like
mm,
if we hadn't ended up having a child, they wouldn't have been somebody that I would have like ended up
mm,
with long term. We were just kind of dating, having fun, hanging out. Like it wasn't really
yeah.
anything too serious. But plans definitely got derailed because I was
Mm,
gonna have a baby,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was, you know, I was stuck in a hard place because I wanted to go back and get my teaching credential, and
Mm,
now I was pregnant, and I was just really in shock about the whole thing. Not in a, I was so excited. I'm still like I love
yeah.
being a mom. It's the best thing ever. But it was just shocking, and I didn't kind of know what route to take
Mm,
as far as
yeah.
like next steps. So I ended up moving in with him, or ended up putting like getting my teaching credential on the back burner, and moving in with him, and it quickly fell apart. Um,
Okay.
I think at that age, like I was only 24. He is, let's see, how much older is he than me? He's 11. No, he was born in 74. 9 years. He's 9 years
Mm,
older than me. And so, I think at that age, like the age difference was just kind of a weird thing.
mm,
And we didn't even really know each other. Like I didn't like
yeah.
I mean, we had known each other for just a few months, and now I was pregnant and moving in together, and the
Mm,
reality of the situation was that he did not want a pregnant girlfriend. Like he
yeah.
didn't want that. He didn't want that responsibility. He didn't want it. Um
Yeah.
and as we started to live together, um and I like progressed in the pregnancy, pregnancy, I can't speak for all women, but for me, like your life instantly changes the second that you find
Mm,
out that you're pregnant. Like you just can't live the same life that you were living because you're with
yeah.
child, and you're going to be safe. You're going to make the right choices. You want, um, down to everything. I mean, I would drink a
Mm,
large Dr. Pepper. I still do now, but back then, I would did it too. A large Dr. Pepper every single day.
mm,
And I stopped since the second I found out I was pregnant. Like I didn't have it anymore for those 9 months. Really,
mm,
maybe one here and there, but like not an everyday thing. It just like instantly changes your
yeah.
life. You can't live the same
Yeah.
life, at least for those
Yeah.
9 months. and you'll never live the same life again. But he was still living like this bachelor type life.
Mm.
That living
Yeah.
together is then when I really started to see how bad his drinking was, and just that he was an alcoholic, and it was
Mm.
very, very bad. It's like prior to that, one, we knew each other so briefly, but two, I was young, I was 24. We could go out to bars together and have drinks.
Mm.
We could just, I was kind of still, able to kind of be more
Yeah.
social, but being pregnant and my priorities starting to shift, I started to see things very, very, very,
Mm.
very differently. Um,
Yeah.
and we started to have a ton of arguments, and they would get very hostile and aggressive. And he was like just very mean to me. Like, just, he would
Mm.
just say things and um, just be very dismissive and just not caring about my feelings, and just he would be out all night and not answer the phone, turn off his phone, and he's
Yeah.
just all over the place. And
Mm.
like one incident really sticks out in my head is like the morning that we were going to go to the doctor and find out the gender of the baby. I was so
Mm.
excited. I wanted a boy. I knew it was a boy. It was a boy, obviously. But
Mhm.
I was just so excited, and my mom was going to meet us there at the doctor's office, and he had went out the night before, and when I woke up, he
Mm.
wasn't back yet.
Mm.
And I was calling him and calling him and calling him, and his phone was like off, like not even ringing. It was off. And my mom was like on her way to our like the house. And
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna tell my mom. Like, where is he? Like, I don't know where he is. And
Mm.
this is just embarrassing, I don't know where he is. So
Yeah.
I'm starting to get dressed. I get in the shower, and then, taking a shower, and all of a sudden, like, he pulls the shower curtain back. He's like, I'm here. And I'm like, where have you been? And he like kind of gave me some explanation about how like he went out with his friend, and then they ended up, they were drinking, of course, and then they were like in the hot tub, or I really don't even remember the story. I was just like, okay, whatever,
Yeah.
just get dressed, let's go to the doctor. Stuff like that. Like, this is like the biggest day for me. Like, I'm finding out the gender of the
Yeah.
baby. I just wanted him there. I just wanted no issues. And,
Mm.
he just wasn't there that morning. I had no idea where he was, and then he just like pops up. Um
Mm.
so there were a lot of incidents like that, and him coming home late, drinking, starting arguments, just um it name calling, just being horrible to me. I really felt like
Mm.
at towards the end of me being there, like he didn't like me, like as a
Mm.
human being. Like, everything
Mm.
I did annoyed him. Everything was just He just didn't like me as a person.
Mm.
Um, and the final like incident that made me leave, because I ended up moving out and living on my own when I was 8 months pregnant.
Mm. Wow.
Um, I got an apartment by myself and moved out, and been, on my own. It's just my son and I ever since. But we were going. This is back years ago, and I don't know how
Mm.
they do it in other countries, but um, we had like at the time we had cable boxes like for the television, and if you
Mhm.
wanted to, he wanted to switch the cable to like a different provider, so you had to like actually take the boxes to the I think it was like Comcast, and like
Mm.
take them into the office, and then go pick up the new ones from the other provider. So we get in the car with the boxes, and I was driving, of course, because it's the middle of the day and he's drinking,
Mm.
so I'm gonna be driving. And I got lost. Like, I didn't know where I was going. This is like pre having it on your phone and GPS and all that.
Mm. Yeah.
And he goes, he called me a stupid fucking bitch for getting lost while I was
Wow.
driving. And so I just turned around. I was like, we're going home. I turn around. I drop him off, and I went and I got an apartment like that day. Like I was just like
Yeah.
it was just that one little thing that I was like, I'm done. I'm done. Like
Yeah.
I'm not doing this anymore. I'd already been thinking about like leaving, moving out, and I just decided I'm done. That was the last straw for
Mm.
me. Um, it certainly
Mm.
wasn't the first time he spoke to me like that, but it was just like, I'm done, you know?
I've had enough. Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, I moved out of the apartment, moved into my own apartment, and been on my own ever since.
Mm.
So
Well, again, I mean yeah, that takes a lot of bravery. I mean, what was your state of mind at this time? I mean, I get, let's put him to the side and his
mhm.
behaviors and what have you. I mean, as a parent, you'd be right. I've got to get this together. Like you were saying in the aftermath of your dad's passing, you've just got to laser focus on this baby is coming. I need to be ready. I need to have these things. What did that look like for you?
That's like you said, laser focus. That's exactly what I did. Like
Mm.
I was living in this one bedroom apartment. It was a decent size. It wasn't something that was like super tiny, but one bedroom apartment. I just really focused on what I needed to do, and like I just wanted to be in a, excuse me, a healthy,
Mm.
um calm environment for myself and
Yeah.
for my baby. I
Yeah.
really struggled at that time. Actually got put on like SSRIs, like
Mm.
medication at that time, which I know it's okay to take those when you're pregnant, but I really didn't want to get on them. But
Yeah.
my doctor recommended it just because of everything that I was going through. So I started on like antidepressants, taking those for the
Mm.
first time. Um, I don't know, I just really stuck my nose to the ground and worked a lot and got,
Mm.
got ready to have a baby, I had some, friends, girlfriends at the time that, would help support me and they would come over and spend time with me. But
Yeah.
it was a lot of me being by myself too, obviously.
Mm.
Living alone. Um
Yeah.
and it felt, to be honest with you, it felt very shitty. It felt very
Mm.
like this is not at all how I ever pictured being
No.
pregnant or having a baby, being by myself, not having like a partner there just to like have support from that person and
Mm.
not to have to go through this process by myself.
Yeah.
Um it felt it just felt deep down like I was kind of, like I said, going through the motions, laser focused, but also like deep down it just felt horrible. I felt like, as excited as I was to have this child, I also,
Mm.
I'm like, how did I let this happen? Like how now I'm
Mm.
gonna be a single parent. I'm gonna have to f- figure out how to do this, and I was very optimistic about it, but also like,
Mm.
how am I gonna do this? Like, um,
Yeah.
it was just it was a hard time. There were just many nights of just like staying up and worrying, crying, just being very stressed out.
Mm.
Um, but uh it was hard. It was very, very hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, when your son came along, I mean, how how did you get through it? How did you push on? I mean, like we've said, your parenting instinct kicks in and you do.
Mhm. Mhm.
But like you've just said then though, you're doing it alone. You're being optimistic about what your life's looking like, but you've said, you put your teaching credentials on hold for the time being.
Mhm.
That must have been a thought. What am I going to do going forward? How did you make sense of this new situation you'd found yourself in?
Gosh, I don't know. I just, like I said, I'm in the moment and I just doing what I have to do.
Mm.
Thankfully I had some, my mom at the time, she had moved from the Bay Area to a city called Merced, which is about 45 minutes
Yeah.
from here. So she
Hmm.
was closer to help me with my son when needed, and I had some relatives who live here in the valley as well who were able to help
Mm.
me with him. When I needed to go to work or a break or whatever,
Yeah.
or just get things done. But I don't know. I just took my nose to the grind and I did it. And um,
Mm.
I was, as hard as it was, I was also, like I said, so excited. Like, I
Mm.
always wanted to be a mom, and it was also very exciting. Like, it's just this little, I mean, you're a parent, it's just this
Yeah.
little baby that's just so perfect and
Yeah.
precious. And it was amazing too, and I just dove head into being a mom and breastfeeding and all of those things. I mean, it was hard because all of the nighttime stuff, getting up in the middle of the night and
Mm.
um, everything is on your shoulders. There's no
Yeah.
break, if you need a break, with somebody else to kind of take over for a couple hours so you can go lay down, like it's just
Yeah.
all on you. So it's very heavy. But I just dove right into it. God, I had a thought in my head, it just left me. Um, yeah, I dove right into it and um I mean it the nights were probably the hardest because it's like it's dark, you're alone,
Yeah.
baby sleeping or awake, and um, I felt at the time I felt like I was only 24, 25, and I would see that was right when like Facebook and all the social media sites started
Mm.
getting popular, and so I would be seeing
Yeah.
like all my friends posting about like they're here, they're there, they're going out, they're
Mm.
traveling. People were traveling into going to Europe and having all this fun, and I'm like, I can't do that. I have
Mm.
a baby, and I'm not only am I a mom now, but then I'm by myself.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so it's just that part of it was painful because it's just like, why did it work out this way for me?
Mm.
Why does it have to be hard? You know, in this way
Yeah.
for me? um and you still have those like desires as a young person to want to do things and like I said,
Yeah.
travel, go out and do things, and I couldn't.
Mm.
So that part of it was hard, and the being alone part was hard. um and it took a big toll on my self-esteem, like me starting to think I um I'm not worthy of good things happening to me, or I'm not very
Mm.
smart, or I'm not, just it kind of
Yeah.
a self-esteem that didn't serve me really kind of creeped in for
Mm.
a while
Mm.
once I was alone with a baby. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, it was hard. I don't know, it was just hard. It was hard not being by myself, not having that support.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think that's another thing that you've touched upon there. I mean, there's the assumption that as a single parent, you're doing it all for the kid, but you're doing it all for yourself as well.
Yeah,
Like you've said, then them moments, your son's asleep in bed and what have you, you're sat on the couch, you can't go out, you can't get tickets for Coachella, you can't do the
yeah,
things,
yeah.
whatever it is.
Hmm.
And then that's like, then you've got to prop yourself up as well.
Yeah,
Be strong for you as well as for your son. And I
yeah,
think that's a thing that's often overlooked when people discuss, single parenthood and what have you. They forget the toll that it takes on you as a
yeah,
person, as an individual.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It takes a huge toll on on I mean, I've never been divorced in with kids and all of that, but like I can imagine like thinking you're gonna have this nuclear family and then having it
Mm.
for a little while and then it breaks up. I mean,
Mm.
it's devastating. I can imagine that it's devastating.
Mm.
It's just like,
Mm.
where did I go wrong? What did I do wrong? What
Mm.
did we do wrong? Like it's just, and that's how it felt for me, being like a young single parent. Like, what did I
Mm.
do wrong here? Like, and it has nothing to do with the baby. It's just like, how did life work out for this way? What choices did I make that led to this? It
Mm.
was just very, very, very hard, very hard emotionally, um,
Mm.
mentally,
Yeah.
on my toll on my self esteem. I think it led
Mm.
me down a path of feeling unworthy and not good about myself, and then
Mm.
making just poor
Mm.
choices um, after moving forward for a few years after that, like just
Yeah.
letting people just be horrible to me, um,
Mm.
dating people that were just weirdos and not that great to me. Um,
Mm.
just I think part of me feels like the loneliness that came with it then allowed me to just like
Yeah.
let anybody kind of be in my life and
Yeah.
not really have any standards.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's understandable. Like you said, loneliness is a powerful thing just to have somebody there, even though it's somebody that's not particularly great. When
Hmm.
you need connection, then
Yeah.
it's an easy thing to do. But can I ask,
Yeah.
so what was the turning point? You had a few stumble and fall moments along the way. But I mean, the woman I'm looking at and talking to now is smart, confident, and things like that. So how did you get from that point, this low ebb that you're discussing, to
Hmm.
to the person you are now?
Gosh. Well, thank you. I appreciate what you
No,
said.
pleasure,
Um,
pleasure.
I think, gosh, that's a great question. I think age really just helps with that.
Hmm.
As you like, you're in your 20s, like you don't know what you're doing. You're even no matter what your life circumstances, you're kind of a mess in your 20s, and
Hmm.
then I feel like a lot of people are a mess. I
Yeah.
was one, really. And then as you just like mature and get older, it's like you just for me at least it's like I just want peace. Like I just want to feel peace within myself about my life, about who I am, kind of
Yeah.
back to what we were talking about earlier. Like this is who I am. I can't
Hmm.
change it. These are my personality traits, these are my quirks, my characteristics, and I'm just gonna accept it and lean into it. um
Yeah.
I think also like I started going to therapy, and therapy helped me immensely
Hmm.
um with uh, being more comfortable with myself and with my life. Um,
Hmm.
and it helped too with like the black and white thinking. So I'm a black and white
Hmm.
thinker. Like I'm like it's
Yeah.
all or nothing. It's bad
Yeah.
or it's good. There's no gray area in the middle. Like
Hmm.
um because my mind is just very type A. I need a plan. The plan doesn't
Yeah.
work out, then the whole thing is ruined. Like that's just how
Hmm.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
and so going to therapy and just kind of getting out of some of those unhealthy thinking patterns, and really like the therapist that I saw at the time really helped me put like a plan together for my future, so I felt like I had
Hmm.
things to look forward to. um
Hmm.
when my son was born, I told myself, because I wanted to go get my credential, I told myself, okay, by the time he turns 2, I'm going to um, either start a credential program or go back and go get my master's degree.
Yeah.
And so I started a teaching credential program. I'm not sorry. What am I talking about? I didn't end up getting my teaching credential. I started a master's program and got my
Hmm.
master's, but I started that the same month that Evan turned 2. My son Evan, he turned 2.
Hmm.
So it's like setting up goals like that, and that took 3 years, but like completing that um and really I think for me at least it's all about how I'm processing and thinking things. So like I said, the
Hmm.
black and white thinking, trying to work on that. Um learning to just be flexible in my mind, like if something doesn't work out that way, it's not the end of the world.
Hmm.
Um but also really leaning into what my life looks like. Like I
Yeah.
said, I always loved. I was excited to be a mom, and I love being a mom. But like, it's hard, and I would, like I said, I would see friends on Facebook and different things, and they were going here and doing this and blah blah. And I'm like, I want to be
Hmm.
doing this. I want to be doing that. But really focusing on, like, I am a mother. This is the phase of life that I'm in right now, so I'm gonna totally lean into it, and accept
Hmm.
it, and even accepting some of the messy parts, like with little ones, when you have a toddler, or even now, like your house is just a mess, like there's toys everywhere, there's this,
Hmm.
there's that, and I'd have
Yeah.
like friends or just people come over to hang out or visit me or hang out with my son, see the baby, whatever. And I'd
Mm,
rush around and I'd clean and I'm trying to get everything. And I'm like, you know what? This is the phase of my life where I have a very rambunctious little boy. He's got toys everywhere,
mm,
and that's just what it is. It's not going to be
yeah.
like this forever, but not to be embarrassed of that. Like you
Yeah.
are a mother of a young baby, a little toddler, infant,
Mm,
whatever. There's toys everywhere. Your friends are just gonna have to
yeah.
deal with it. They probably don't even care, you know? Like just really leaning into what this phase of my life that I'm in now.
Mm,
There's so much joy that can come from being a
yeah.
mom, as hard as it is. um
Mm,
you know, just really diving into like spending time with my son, and
mm,
any little thing. I was just talking about this the other day on my podcast, like even if you don't have a ton of money to go anywhere and do a ton of
mm,
trips, like really just starting to lean into spending quality time with him.
yeah.
I would take a blanket and go to the park and then get like McDonald's or like a sandwich,
Mm,
Subway, whatever, and put out the blanket, and he'd play at the park and eat, we'd eat our food, and just spending that quality time together, just
yeah.
sitting around watching movies. um
Mm,
just really like, and there's that quote that says like, don't focus on water your own grass or focus on the grass,
mm,
something like that. There's that phrase like, the grass, you
yeah.
always think the grass is greener on the other side, but if
Yes.
you
Yes.
focus on,
This grass is greener when you feed it.
yeah, yeah, your grass is green when you
Mm,
water it. So like really leaning
yeah.
into like that mindset, like, what are the good things about my life that I can enhance and make really
Mm,
great? So, and I'm a mother, and so I'm gonna enjoy my son, and do
mm,
things together and just spend time with him and be at home and cook and just enjoy. Really, just shifting my mindset and enjoying
yeah.
where I'm at in the present really, really, really helped. And also remembering that it's
Mm,
not forever. Like
yeah.
the the pieces that are hard about this phase of my life, it's not going to be like this forever. I can remember
No.
when my son was little and he'd like have big tantrums, and it's overwhelming. It feels awful. It's very hard to manage, but that has passed.
Mm,
Obviously he's a teenager now, so tantrums are
yeah.
over. So it's like
Mm,
just really looking at the broader picture, and really leaning
mm,
into what my life looks like now, and embracing what I have as opposed to looking at what I don't have.
yeah.
Um, really helped. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I absolutely love that, and that's the thing. I suppose I think now because my two, 14 and 18, and while I love them now, you know we get to have a chat, and we've got a different relationship. But they were so cute when they were little. They were so fun. It was such an enjoyable time, and I think
Yeah.
focusing on that, then that having gratitude for that, that's an important thing that I think a lot do seem to overlook. It's more about what you don't have, what you can't do, but
Hmm.
you've got something amazing. And like you say, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be, the big flash trips to Disneyland. I think
Mm,
a lot of kids now, yeah, they'd love to go to Disneyland, but the present parent thing, I think, is what's more
yeah.
important for yourself as well. But then if I can, well, bring it forward. So to now, you've started your podcast, Stop Telling Me to Relax. Where
Hmm.
was that born? What was the inspiration for it?
Um, so I'd been thinking about doing a podcast for a while. And like I
Hmm,
said, I didn't feel like there was a space in media for single parents that kind of talked about that told our stories and talked about
hmm,
being a single parent in a realistic light. Like there are
hmm.
other really great podcasts about single parenting, and there's lots of parenting podcasts. Um, but excuse me, I really wanted to
Okay.
create a space where some of the stories of resiliency are talked about, and
Hmm,
just some of the maybe the
yeah.
ugly things about um
Hmm,
some of the ugly things and the struggles about single being a single parent and being a single mom are discussed, and
yeah.
some of the things that are kind of like taboo or that are not talked about, like
Hmm,
there's a lot of and you wouldn't think that it would be this way, but it can be very weird in like a mom group or a friend group to be the single mom. Like
Mm.
it's a lifestyle that
Hmm.
if you're not living it, you don't understand. There's a lot of
Yeah.
things like that. Like if you're not, if you don't have a certain experience, you don't understand what it's like, and but
Mm.
you can feel a lot of isolation and guilt, and
Mm.
people putting
Mm.
weird labels on you, and
Mm.
just not feeling like you fit in, or that you are, you know, you're good enough. I can remember when Evan was, littler, and I'd go over to like somebody's house for a play date. They'd have this big, huge, massive house.
Mm.
Like Evan had a set of twins who he was friends with for a long time in preschool and kindergarten, and their dad was a doctor here at one of the
Mm.
hospitals, and the mom was a stay at home mom, and they had a beautiful home.
Yeah.
And I would pull up and I'd be like, they're never coming to my little like 2 bedroom apartment, because I just
Yeah.
felt uh, like
Mm.
they would think that I'm not good enough, or I don't know, things like that, like
Mm.
things that unless you've experienced it, you understand. Or I
Mm.
was like shamed one year when my son was in kindergarten, because I couldn't show up to like all of the to be like the classroom mom and show up
Yeah.
and be there a lot of the days to be in the classroom with the kids and volunteer, because I'm a single mom and I'm working. And one of the
Mm.
other moms like mentioned it to another mom, and she told me um, that they were talking about me and how I'm never there. And I'm like, well, I have to work because it's
Mm.
just me. Um, so things like
Mm.
that are just not really discussed. I wanted a space
Yeah.
for that, and I wanted a space for, like I said, stories of resiliency. Like I had my friend
Mm.
Carla, who was on the podcast too. Again, she's a single mother still. She's a grandmother now.
Yes, she
But
went back to study her PhD. Is it that?
yeah, she's getting her
Yeah.
PhD. Yeah, yeah, and
Yes.
she's in a long marriage for 14
Yeah.
years. Somebody who was a domestic violence situation, and
Yeah.
she had her kids young with two different fathers, and she has her
Mm.
whole story, but she's doing so well now, and those are
Yeah.
the things that I want, the stories that I want to get out there,
Mm.
just of resiliency, and you can make something of yourself. You can make mistakes and bounce back and get back on your feet,
Mm.
and be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what that
Yeah. I think
podcast.
these are the things that like they really shone through for me. Like in preparation for this episode, and well, when we were talking a few weeks ago,
Mhm,
I had to listen to and that was the thing. I mean, on my last episode, I was speaking with a psychotherapist up in Canada, and she works with mums predominantly facing burnout. But there were a lot of these things. There was these labels put on people, and
mhm,
she referred to it as the Texan mom, which is always wears skinny jeans at home. The house is always immaculate. They're
mhm,
at every single school event,
yeah,
and they've always got a tray of fresh bacon or whatever it
mhm,
is.
mhm,
And
yeah,
she says, herself, she says, that's not me. It's not
yeah,
the women I work with. And for
yeah,
the most part, it's not reality.
yeah,
But a lot of women, well, I say women, but that's what she's talking about,
mhm,
see themselves as having to be, live up to this expectation level when,
yeah,
like you say, you've got to go to work, you've got to provide, and it's just, well, you're one person. There's only so many hours in
yeah.
the day. Yeah, but listening to the stories, there was another woman. She was a real estate agent. I
So
think her
Betsy,
husband. Yes,
yeah,
yes. And then there was another woman. I think she's divorced now, but she's got her kids and some stepkids. There were like six of
mhm,
them in the
yeah,
house,
oh yeah,
and
my friend Brittany, yeah,
yeah, and listening to these relatable stories. I mean, mine's nowhere near that. But again, being a single parent of two teenagers, you know, while it might not be the same lens for me and what have you, there are those times where, I don't know, you sat up thinking, shit, I've got to pay for school uniforms. I've got to get this.
mhm,
How am I going to make this work?
yeah,
You get in from a hard day's work or whatever, and the sink's full of dishes and the house is a mess, and you're just like, fuck, here we go. And the little things, I suppose,
I know.
yeah, one, yeah, like my guest yesterday, she was saying just needing that somebody to talk to. And as a psychotherapist, she's not got skin in the game. She's separate. And these mums who were like, I'm a terrible mother because I can't do this and I can't do that. And the pressure they were putting on themselves was it was heartbreaking,
Yeah.
you know?
That's part of the like reasoning behind the name too. Is stop telling me to
Mm,
relax because it's there's a lot of pressures on parents, mom, dad,
mm,
whomever, single mom, single dad, whoever, like just to you have to work and clean the house and do everything for get kids where they need to be and try
yeah.
to keep some sort of sanity within yourself,
Mm,
just so that you can just be sane.
yeah.
It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of
Mm,
pressure and I would I still do, but for a long time, I would have people be like, "Why don't you just relax? Just relax. Everything's gonna be fine." And I'm like, "I know everything's gonna be fine. One, because I'm gonna take
mm,
care of it, but two, like I know if things work out, the universe,
yeah.
life, things work out well. But it's just like, stop telling me to relax.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Please
Like
let me
I
have
have a
my moment.
yeah, let me have my moment. I have a lot on my plate.
Yeah.
It's a lot. You're not in my
Mm,
shoes. You don't necessarily understand. And if you want to help, instead of telling me to relax, offer
mm,
to come over and help me clean, or
mm,
some things. Offer some help instead of like some criticism about how anxious,
yeah.
wound up I am. Like, stop telling me to
Yeah.
relax. That's kind of the idea behind the name, and um yeah, I just it's it, there's a lot of pressure, and I feel like social media too adds
Mm,
another layer of pressure when you're seeing like all the perfect families and perfect
yeah.
moms, and they their house is completely decked out and she's baking cookies
Mm,
and all of those things but I'm sure we all know by now, like what you see on social media isn't
yeah.
necessarily what's really going on in their
Mm,
household. um and also, you may have strengths as a mom that another parent doesn't have. Like I am
mm,
not I don't like to cook. I'm not a cook. I cook, of course I cook,
yeah.
make meals, but I don't enjoy it. I don't
Mm,
like it. I don't feel like I'm particularly good at it. And for a while that would always excuse me, weigh me down because I'm like like you see some moms that are making these fabulous meals every night
yeah.
and cooking and they really enjoy it too. I think that's the thing, like
Yeah.
I just don't like cook. I don't like it.
Mm,
Try
yeah.
to do the easiest meals possible. um and but that's not a strength that I
Mm,
have. That doesn't make me a bad mom because I don't know how to
no.
cook. I have other strengths, that maybe another mom who cooks really well doesn't have, and that doesn't
Mm,
make me better than her or her better than me, but we all have our strengths and you don't have to be everything, you know, on the
yeah.
list to be a good mom. You don't,
Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah. You look at the socials and you're comparing, I look around my house, it looks like a bomb's gone off there.
Mm,
And
yeah.
then I'm looking at somebody's highlight reel
Yeah.
thinking, wow, they've got
Yeah.
it together. Like you said right at the start, you look at other people and think they deal with things so much better than me. They've
Hmm.
got it all together.
Hmm.
They've got it all switched on.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, that is one what the socials have definitely amped things up in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
agree.
I don't know.
Yeah. And so it's
But if I,
important to
hmm,
not compare yourself. It's very hard, but not
yeah,
compare yourself. And if you can't, to put boundaries on social media. Like I'm like I try not to consume it too often, and maybe go
hmm,
online and scroll for a few minutes, like twice a week. But like I
hmm,
just can't look at it. It's very overstimulating and
yeah.
um can make me feel like I'm not doing a good job at living with life. So
Hmm. No, I don't know. Well, I've got to say, like I said, the podcast, I found it very, very edifying and very uplifting because I
thank
think
you.
each one, we've got our stories behind it, but there's a lot of uplift, there's a lot of hope there. And
Thank you.
I suppose as well, just having somebody that gets it,
Hmm.
like, yeah, I suppose there are them days when you're like, whoa, you just fuck
Ugh,
off, you
yes,
know.
yeah,
But
yeah.
being able to admit that,
Yeah.
rather than, you go to the school gates and whatever, you say something like that, and everyone's sort of clutching at pearls, like,
Mhm,
I can't
mhm.
believe she said such a,
Yeah.
that kind. But them days, they happen to
It
all of
does
us.
happen. It happens for all of us moms, all
Mm,
of us parents, like, being a parent and then juggling everything else, it is overwhelming. Not it can be. It
mm,
is overwhelming. It's a
yeah,
lot on your
yeah,
plate. And so if you like, you know, are having a bad day where you're like, I cannot wait for these kids to be quiet and
mm,
go to bed or
yeah,
be out of the house or whatever, like, or you blow up and you yell,
yeah,
it's okay. It's okay. Like, it's just
yeah,
normal. That's a normal reaction to
yeah,
all that we all have going on. There's always a
yeah,
lot going on. It's okay to feel that, to blow up, or feel overwhelmed, or be glad that your kids are gone for the day because they're
mm,
at school or wherever. It's all fine. You do not
yes,
have to be perfect. Um and part of that was part of what I wanted to do with my podcast, was like kind of bring
mm,
those topics out, but also talk about some of the things that I feel like I've said, are very exclusive to single parenthood or
mm,
motherhood,
mm-hmm,
um like dating, for example.
yeah,
Obviously a married mother isn't dating, but
mm,
it's
yeah,
hard to, like, after you have a baby, as a woman, your body is different. It changes no matter how
mm,
much weight you gain or whatever. Like, it's a
yeah,
transformative process for your body. And then
mm,
being a single person and trying to date,
mm,
when you may not feel as confident because your body just looks and feels
mm,
differently. Like, that's not
yeah,
something that I feel like is ever really talked about, because um that the idea behind having kids is that you have a spouse, and the
mm,
spouse is there and loves you unconditionally, whatever. Nobody talks about what it's like to date after you have a baby and you're in this brand new body, and you want to feel you don't feel comfortable in it. You don't
yeah,
feel um attractive, or you're worried if somebody's going to be attracted to you, because it's something that, like, it's never talked about. And
mm,
there's this influencer, and she's lovely. Like, this is nothing against her, but she's married and her body has like changed a lot since having 3 kids. And she always
mm,
posts about like body positivity and embracing your body, and like, and yeah, you definitely should. But she's also married with a spouse that seems to really love her body
mm,
after kids. But if you're a single woman who
mm,
had a baby or two, then you're trying to go out there and date, and
mm,
your body's totally different, you're not gonna feel that way. You're just, I don't know,
mm,
you're just not. So those kinds of like
mm,
topics that like aren't really talked about, um
yeah,
are the things that like I want to talk about on my show, that are
mm,
very exclusive to like being a single mother or a single parent.
yeah. Well, these are things like, I've got to say, for me, it's not my reality. My body's the same. Well, other than
Right.
getting older,
Yeah, yeah, no, I know
you
what you
know,
mean, yeah.
and that's it. And as a guy, you want to be supportive, you want to be
Mhm.
caring, but I'll never fully get it.
Yeah, you won't
So
get
I
it, yeah.
think, yeah, hearing stories like this, I think a lot more guys do probably need to pay attention to. Just, I suppose, just to understand it.
Yeah.
It's different. I mean, I'm not even getting into the, which is harder for who arena, because that's subjective as well. But
Yeah.
it's different.
Yeah.
I can approach this. I can be the best parent or the shittiest parent, whatever. But my experience and my lens on it is always going to be vastly different
Mhm.
from the mum
Yeah.
for a number of reasons. So for me, like I say, I mean, other than the stories, the individual stories that get behind it, hearing things like that, and it's sort of said, with a bit of a knowing smile between you or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm just sort of, there's a lot of times I thought, shit, yeah, I didn't even stop to think that.
Yeah, it's funny, like, I've had other men tell me that, like, I never thought about,
Mm,
like, that perspective of things. I never thought about, like, what a woman would be feeling or going through, or
mm,
or like even, going back to dating, like, um, when you're a single parent, mother, particularly when you have little children, you don't have a
mm,
ton of free, like, social time, right? So when
mm,
you choose to do something social for yourself, spend time with friends, maybe go out on a date or whatever, if you're carving out that time for that person or to do something, it's
mm,
incredibly important. Like, this is something that you are choosing to take time away from whatever else you have going on, your child, whatever, just being at home, whatever you're doing,
mm,
to go on state or to spend time or to be out and be social. So it's very important that, or what I found is that, like, the other person doesn't necessarily understand, like, the male or the friends
mm.
that don't have kids
Yeah.
or don't have this lifestyle, they don't understand the importance of the plans and sticking to the plans and not flaking or not whatever. It's
Mm,
like if I'm taking this time out to get a babysitter or drop my child off somewhere to be
yeah.
watched by a family, my mom or a family member or whatever,
Mm,
or what, just taking the time to spend time on this, it's important.
mm,
And, um, I don't have a lot of time, so I'm dedicating this time for this, for you, for this person. It's a big deal.
yeah.
But for people that don't have
Mm,
the same life circumstance, like, they can hang out and go out and do whenever, so it's not a big deal to them. But I'm like, no, you have to understand, like, this
mm,
is this has to be a priority for you because I'm carving out time for you,
yeah.
things like
Yeah.
that. Like,
Yeah.
people they just don't think about that,
Mm,
they don't think about, especially, I can remember when I was a lot younger. Now lots of people have children, but just like when talking about dating, um having to tell somebody that you meet, that you're like, want to spend time with or going on a date, that you have a child, is a big deal. Because, like,
mm,
what 24, 25-year-old guy, if he doesn't already have
yeah.
kids, is signing up to
Yeah.
date you,
Yeah.
to date a single mom with, with a child or two? Like, that doesn't, they're not, they weren't, now it's not so much. I'm 40, so everybody has kids, but, like, at the
Mm,
time, like, it's like nobody wants to date the single mom.
yeah.
So it's like, even just saying it,
Mm,
and letting somebody know, like, I have a child, it was a big deal,
yeah.
it was, yeah.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. Well, let's bring this one home then. So, what's next for you? What's next on the horizon for you?
Um, I don't know. Life is throwing me some curveballs right now.
Mm,
Um, I've been very blessed, like, with this podcast and being able
mm-hmm,
to meet people and it's been about a year since I started it, because I
mm,
recorded the first episode in January of the last year. So it's been about almost a year.
mm,
And it's slowly, steadily, like, gaining, more listeners and more
mm,
followers. So it's very exciting, and getting to come on other people's podcasts
mm,
and talk to people and just kind of put it out there a little bit more and meet people has been amazing. Um, I really don't know. I just recently lost my job, and so,
mm,
it's been very, as stressful as that seems, I guess. And
mm,
it is a stressful situation. I'm also like, I feel like now I have a blank slate. Like, I can
mm-hmm,
really, um, f- I don't know what's going to happen. Like, the possibilities
mm,
are up in the air. I would love to do something, like this full time and have my
yeah.
podcast and be able to monetize and make money, but that's a very tricky place to get.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. The possibilities are endless. So I'm
Yeah.
just ready for, whatever comes my way, in
Mm-hmm,
2026, and keeping my options open. And a couple months ago, well, not a couple months ago, back in May, I turned 40. So that's a big birthday too. It's like a new
mm,
chapter, a new decade. So I'm just going with it. Like I said, I used to be, and I still am very, like, I have a plan. It has to work this way. But,
mm,
I've had a lot of curveballs in life to just learn to
mm,
just go with the flow and of the direction my life is leading me in. So
yeah.
that's what I'm gonna do now.
Awesome. Well, I wish you well, and I
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for your time. It's been Yeah, it's been lovely talking about you. I feel even last time when we were chatting, it just
Yeah,
felt very, very easy to talk to you, and there's
thank you.
a lot of crossovers. And I find it still amazing that you live as far away as you do
I
from me. We've come
know.
from very different stories, and
Yeah.
yet the amount of similarities that we've got,
Yeah, I
it never
agree.
ceases to amaze.
Yeah, it's amazing, as much as I was saying bad things about social media, at the same time, it
Mm,
does give you that platform to meet so many people from all over the
yeah,
world that you would never have
mm,
a chance to connect with or meet with.
yeah.
And it's just such a pleasure to meet you and to be given this
Mm,
opportunity to come on your show. I listened to several episodes of your show and I'm like, this is amazing. I feel like there are not very many
thank you.
spaces um, for men talking about mental health, unfortunately. Like it's getting
Mm,
there, but like there's really not a lot of spaces
mm,
where men are being very transparent and open about their struggles and
mm.
the ups and downs of their life. And so I think you having that space is so amazing. Um, and
I appreciate that.
yeah,
Thank you.
and I feel too like the other podcasters that I've met, we all have, I don't know, I love like-minded people. Like we all have a
Mm,
similar personality. Like
yeah,
when me and you chatted for the first time, it was like easy. Like it's just like we just
yeah.
like talk and we'll tell you stuff and it's like
That's
it's
it.
easy. Like it's
Yeah,
like great to
definitely.
meet people that because it's not easy to do this stuff. Like I mean it's not hard, but it's not easy. It's very
Mm,
like it can be challenging, and we're
yeah,
not even if you're getting making any money, it's not a ton. So it's like you're really
yeah,
just doing it out of the goodness of like it's like a
yeah,
hobby, something you really want to
yeah,
do. So it's nice to meet like-minded people that are kind of
yeah,
also in it, enjoy
yeah.
it. So
Absolutely. Well, again, I want to say a big thank you for talking with me today.
thank you so much.
I've enjoyed it as ever. And I want to say a big thank you to you again out there for listening. As always, I appreciate your support. For those of you new to the podcast, please look out for me on Instagram or TikTok under Social Harmony Talk and Facebook under Social Harmony Time to Talk, where I'll put pictures of my face for radio, links about upcoming shows, information about guests, all of those sort of things. Where I'm looking to launch a new episode every Monday at 6 p.m. New Zealand time on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Also, there's a YouTube channel in the offing, but we'll watch this space. For now, though, if you could follow me across the social platforms on Spotify, on Apple, leave a comment, engage, like, follow, share, all those kind of things. If you want to join me for a future episode, please hit me up, send me a message, and get in touch, and we'll see what we can do about a future episode. But for now, go well, look after yourselves, keep talking. Thank you very much for listening.